Welcome to Season 2, Episode 23 of our monologue series. At the end of the last monologue, I left you with a question. If language frames experience, what happens when the frames stack on top of each other? When a client has a feeling about a feeling, a belief about a belief. The frames do not sit side by side. They build a structure. And the highest structure they build is identity. Start with the basic unit. A primary state is a response to the world. Fear, anger, grief. A metastate is a state about a state. Shame about being afraid. Anger at yourself for being anxious. Guilt about feeling relief. The metastate is not a response to the world. It's a response to your own response. And this is where a great deal of suffering compounds. Not in the primary state, but in the layer the client built on top of it. Metastates do not stay single. They stack. A feeling about a feeling, a judgment about that feeling, a conclusion drawn upon the judgment about the feeling. And each layer frames the one below it. The stack builds upwards, and every layer up has more general, more stable, and harder to see. Because the client is not looking at it. They are looking out of it. At the top of the stack is identity. Identity is not a fixed object in the client, and it was not issued at their birth. It is a constructed structure, a set of frames and metastates that stacked, stabilized, and became load-bearing. I am someone who. I'm the kind of person that. I am broken. I am someone bad things happen to. These are the highest frames, and everything below them organizes to be consistent with them. And here is the part most approaches miss. An identity level frame regenerates the pattern beneath it. You can resolve a memory at the affective level, fully, cleanly, inside the reconsolidation window. But if the identity frame is still, I am someone this happens to, that frame will re-encode the pattern. It will recruit new evidence. It will rebuild what you resolved. This is why some clients improve and then quietly return to their baseline. The memory changed. The structure that was generating memories like it did not. So identity is not an optional advanced module. It is what makes the rest of the work holds. Trauma is an injury that can heal. But healing the injury and leaving the identity frame intact is an incomplete repair. The frame at the top of the stack has to be reached, or it keeps the lower levels in business. The leverage runs in one direction. Change at the identity level, and everything cascades down. The layers below reorganize to stay consistent with what changed above it. Change at the behavioral level does not cascade up. You can change a behavior all day, and the identity frame will simply generate a replacement. Work the top of the stack. But here is the discipline. You do not confront an identity frame head on. You can't simply say you're not broken. You are not broken is a contradiction, and the stack defends against contradiction. You need to reconstruct it the same way it was built, in layers, with language, with framing, inside regulation. You resolve the effective memories the frame was built on. You recover deleted information using metamodel. And you let the stack reorganize around what is now true rather than what was encoded under the threat. Identity is constructed. That is exactly why it can be rebuilt. Now, a question I hear is, why do I keep ending up in the same kinds of situations with the same kinds of people? Because the identity stack is running. The same structure produces the same filtering, the same choices, the same patterns, across contexts that look different on the surface. It's not bad luck. It's a structural continuity. And structural continuity changes when the structure changes. Now, a second question I get, can a person actually change who they are? or just manage who they are. We certainly can change it, because who you are at the level we are describing is a constructed stack, not a fixed essence. What you cannot do is change it by force of will from the bottom. You change it by reaching the frames at the top and reconstructing them at the level they were built. Now, a third question is, why can a client understand their pattern completely, cognitively, name it, trace it, explain it, and still be inside it? Well, because insight is content. The identity frame is structure. Knowing about the frame is not the same as being outside it. The work is not to explain the stack to the client, it's to reconstruct the stack with the client. So if you take one thing from this monologue, take this. Identity is not a thing you have. It's a structure that was built. You built it. And you built it out of stacked frames and metastates that stabilized and became useful over time. It sits at the top of the stack, and it regenerates everything below it, which means resolution that does not reach the identity layer is incomplete. The frame rebuilds what you resolved, and it means identity can be changed, because anything that was constructed can be reconstructed. And this brings us to the next question. If identity is a structure, how does it actually express itself moment to moment? Not as a statement, not as a sequence, a repeated internal sequence that produces the same behavior reliably every time. This is called a strategy. The brain runs strategies. They are literally internal standard operating procedures. And that's what we'll examine next. If you want to learn how to work identity layer clinically, we have a certification program that teaches metastates, frame stacking, identity reconstruction inside the reconsolidation window. The link to that certification is below. And if you want to talk to me one-on-one, there's a link to that as well. I'll see you in the next monologue.